purposely invite the rock and roll element into our community?
Well, what's wrong with a little entertainment?
Entertainment is fine, but this... we have lots of big acts that come through here. Ice Capades, Tiny Toons, Kenny G.
Kenny G.
Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones.
Good afternoon, this is Dr. Bones Live. Today my guest is Millie Manders. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm very happy to have you on here. First off, Millie, I found out about your music courtesy of at Forgotten Bee on Twitter.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And we played you for the first time on our bi-weekly show called the Bones and Bee Banter Hour. And I was very impressed, and it was nice to hear, kind of refreshing to hear something different, because your whole EP, right off the hop, you give us pretty much a difference in your different vocal ranges and different talents, and it was actually very impressive.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really nice of you to say so.
And I played pretty much every one of your songs of your EP on my New Music Saturday show, and
Amazing.
And it's been a lot of fun, and I've gotten very, very good reviews from my co-host and people on Twitter. And,
brilliant!
Yeah.
That's really nice to hear. Thank you to everybody that has enjoyed my songs. Like, that's really cool. That's so nice.
So first off, the EP, the different song titles such as Little Big Mouth, Sick, Demon, Thoroughbred Potato Head, you seem to be kind of slightly grazing a somewhat of a storyline, and it almost seems like so that for some stuff seems like it was just some of the titles that you may have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, even though just from the song titles, it doesn't mean you do, but yeah. It's funny because you see those titles and you listen to the songs, like it's completely different from what you think it would be, and they're actually it's very, very catchy. So first question is, when did you start kind of getting into the music in general, like start playing and songwriting, that sort of thing?
Well, I started playing music when I was about 5 years old. I started dabbling on things like the piano and the recorder. And then I went on to the clarinet when I was 7. So I've always had music going on in my life. I didn't really start... I did songwriting as well from about 7 years old, because it'd probably be silly stuff. I think the first song I really remember writing about was about Unicorn Pegasus. So you can that was my frame of mind back then. It was Barbies and flying horses, but I was still writing songs. I started writing songs as something I actually wanted to do when I was about probably 15. That's when I realised that I really enjoyed singing and wanted to pursue that as my main instrument. So yeah, my whole life has been surrounded with music one way or another.
Now, with this EP, the songs that you wrote for this EP, did it take you a while, or were they kind of pieced together over the years, and you finally kind of reworked them the way you want them and kind of laid them out on this EP?
Some of them, yes. Some of them are a little bit older than others. I did actually have a full band before I went solo 2 years ago, and a couple of the songs I actually pulled out from that previous band and kept them. One of them is Mr. Stupid, and another one is Raw. Yes, some of the songs were quite bitter. During the time that I was in a full band, I went through quite a tumultuous period, but I was also quite an antagonized sort of teenager into young adult. So some of the song content is from that kind of era. But there are some new ones on there as well. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Well, it's not surprising that, because in most of our teenage years, there's a little bit of angst, and I can kind of rule the world, and then you kind of finally start to realize that's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I suppose it's true for any songwriter, really, is that if you're going to date a songwriter, upset a songwriter, be nasty to a songwriter, you're going to get a song written about you at some point, because it's a very good way of dealing with any of those sort of negative emotions. If you can't push them back out onto other people, you push them out into your art. And I think that's the same with any artist, even. If you look at paintings or anything, a lot of it will be pushed out emotions back into the world in the form that we can relate it to. So. Well,
that's right. I mean, essentially, it's a form of expression, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Instead of calling the person out with, I guess sometimes is kind of necessary. It's easier to call them out in the song, because then, I mean, even though it's, let's say, specifically about a certain person, you're calling them out, but saying, no, listen, this is how I feel. I may not come up to you and say, no, listen, like, you did this, and this, or this is how I feel. This is a better way to kind of say, you know what, this is how I feel. You wronged me in the past, so here you go.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way of therapy, and of course, get some catchy songs out of it. Why not?
Well, that's right. And I'm just curious, actually, when you put the CD together. Well, actually, before we get to that, what made you decide to kind of say, you know what, I don't want to do the band, I want to do it solo?
It wasn't a decision that the band would have necessarily made. We went through we signed a deal that wasn't right for us at the time, and any musician that signs a bad deal will tell you that it takes a very long time to get your music and your assets back from any kind of contract, whether it's your fault or theirs. And so by the time that had all sort of dissipated and we'd got our assets back, we'd really lost our fan base, because we hadn't been able to be out in the public eye and out in that live arena in order to keep our fans engaged and let them know what we were doing, because this was back in the time of sort of MySpace and stuff. We didn't have the ability to keep people tuned in through other kinds of social media.
Right.
It was a very different world when we were going through those problems. So it was a decision in that respect, that it needed rebranding and moving on. And so I said, well, then I'm going to do stuff as a solo project. I still actually work with both the guitarist and the bassist, and occasionally the drummer, as my backing band, as my full band. So I write all of the songs and things, and they come and they work with me live. And in fact, actually, my guitarist is now my musical director.
Oh, wow.
So it's been 11 years of relationship with my guitarist and 8 years of relationship with my bassist. And I'm still very much in contact with the old drummer. So we're still a family unit, and we still help each other out, and sometimes even write together. And, it's a very, very strong unit. But it's my project now.
Well, that's a good thing that because a lot of times when that sort of thing happens, whether it's like you said, whether it's your fault or their fault, like a breach of contract, that sort of thing, and and usually that falls to like a big falling out between the band, and kind of because there's so much has gone on that you just don't want this kind of I'll not say pressure, but just the other stuff going on, you just don't want anymore. And the fact that she kind of kept in contact with them, and they're working with you still, is a good thing, because most times that happen. Once the split's done, the split is done and final, and nothing ever happens again, just because all the animosity just kind of builds up and says, this is it, we're finished.
Yeah, and it's a real shame when that happens, but I think if you find the kind of people that are like-minded and they care about each other first and foremost, rather than worrying about whether you're going to get famous or have success or anything. It's about caring for each other and creating a produce that you really want to set out in a live arena. Then it becomes a completely different dynamic, and from the word go, like, we were always considering ourselves to be a kind of a family unit as a band, and so that's just not gone anywhere. We're still like really close friends and stuff. I'm on the phone to them, whether it's text or phone calls most days, like, so yeah, we're still best as buddies.
Well, that's really good. That's a good feat to kind of overcome, just because it, like I said, just doesn't happen too often.
No, it is a shame.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, obviously we can name so many that has happened, and
yeah,
so,
yeah.
But we're not going to take time to name them all off because it's. But
I'm definitely blessed. I am blessed.
But with you said your guitarist is your musical director now.
Yeah, that's
okay.
correct. Yeah.
So
I now have somebody else that plays guitar on stage with me.
Okay.
And David is now musical director, so he books all the rehearsals, finds musicians if I need them, and makes sure that my sound, the sound that I vision, is actually the sound that we get when we're live or recording or whatever. So. And
I'm assuming that means he helps on the producing side as well, then.
Yes, the EP that we produced actually was just me and him. We got somebody in to do a little bit of drums for us and somebody to do a little bit of keys, but other than that, it was us sitting in a room and doing everything, like very old school, like 8-track, Cubase VST, like, yeah. So we work through my sound together very, very closely. So when we're in a studio situation, he's then able to go in with whoever's mixing it, mastering it, and say, okay, well, this is what we need to hear.
Now, it's got to make, we think it makes a huge difference in the fact that he knows you, so it makes it a lot easier to record some of these songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, very blessed to have somebody like that in my life.
Right on. So the first song we're going to get to is the first song that most people heard on the Bones of Beat Banter and my show, because it's been played many times since. We're going to listen to Little Big Mouth by Millie Manders.
Awesome.
Dig this.
I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. Standing there in front of the mirror, putting on your layers 3. You take out to put your makeup on to hide your insecurity. Well, I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. Putting on the shortest dress you have, making sure that we can see your suspenders hanging way down low. Is this how you see beauty? Well, I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. Little girl, you think you're so big, think you're hot but you're soft meat. Stand out of the pit with your buffet sign. You're thinking you ain't tough, girl, but you ain't strong. No, I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. I pity you, baby, you and your little big mouth. Bleach blonde hair and bloodshot eyes, coke up your nose, it gives me a fright. Souped up confidence without a kick. Why do you feel the need to be such? Well, I